Hello, everyone. This is Haley Wazinski, the Physician and Program Relations Manager here at Practice Match. Today's webinar is all about the job search timeline. I've been asked a lot in the past at our different career fairs as well as some of the different physician conferences I've been to. When is an appropriate time to start looking for opportunities? And am I too early? Am I too late? Am I in that right time frame? So today we're really going to discuss the difference of when we should be starting and all that good stuff. So that way you have a good idea in your head. A few housekeeping things just before we dive into the webinar itself. During the webinar, the phone lines will be muted. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the questions chat box. Also, there will be time at the end of the webinar for questions. And at the end of the webinar, it'll also have all of my contact information. So if you do have any questions, you can always email them in as well. So quick little overview. So we're going to start off with, of course, getting started to actually look for opportunities and apply. And then we're going to move down to preparing to apply, actually applying. We're going to talk a little bit about the interview. We're not going to go into the full interview process, but just an overview of it. And then if you do have more questions or want more information, there are past webinars on the website. I can also send you the information for an upcoming interview webinar that we're going to be doing. And then we'll move into talking about accepting and declining offers, as well as wrapping up with contract negotiation. So the best time to start your search is about 18 to 24 months prior to your desired start date. So this is obviously going to vary a little bit of, when your start date is going to be compared to where you are in your residency or fellowship based upon what your specialty is. So that's why I say prior to your desired start date, because if you're an internal med resident, it might be a little bit different than someone who's doing radiology and going on into a fellowship. So when should I start? About 2 years to a year and a half prior to your start date. That'll give you enough time to start looking at those different opportunities, comparing them, and also gives you time to figure out what are you actually looking for within an opportunity. So from there, where do you start to look? So obviously, we all have the internet now, and it can be a little overwhelming sometimes. It's no longer I'm looking for an opportunity in a newspaper or looking at just a billboard that I drive by or hearing a commercial on the TV. Now it's more focused on job boards. So almost every organization that you're interested in or want to see, hey, what opportunities do they have, will have some sort of job board. That will go ahead and that will let you know what they have open. Also, I'll show you on the next slide the Practice Match job board. It's a free resource for you, and it's not going to be limited to just one organization. It's actually going to have multiple organizations listed in your specialty and in that geographic area that you're looking for. Conferences are also a great place to look. If you have never been to a specialty conference before, a lot of times within there, in the exhibit hall, there's going to be a career center corner, or there's going to be an aisle that has a lot of the open opportunities. Walk through there. I know that it can seem, overwhelming, or you may think, oh, but I'm not really here to network. I'm really here to, attend the lectures and things like that. But by stopping by those different booths, that gives you a really great opportunity to, one, just find out what kind of opportunities are out there. Two, also gives you a chance to network with an organization. Because you never know if maybe you said, oh, I really want a hospitalist position. They go, you know what? We don't have one now, but let me take your information. And if we do have one open up, I'll reach out to you. That helps get your foot into the door. Another nice thing about that is it gives you the chance to maybe look at some different geographic areas that you weren't 100% sure about. So if you think, you know what, I really want to work in Southern California, and then you start to talk to a recruiter about, their locations in Southern California, that's going to give you a better idea of, oh my gosh, yes, this is what I want, or you know what, I thought that's what I wanted, but maybe that's not the best geographic area for me at this moment. So stop by those different booths during the conferences and chat there. Also, career fairs. At Practice Match, we do both live and virtual career fairs. At the live career fairs, those are going to be in different cities. So check and see, check with your program director, your coordinator, just Google it online, but check to see what career fairs are out there that you can attend. With the virtual career fairs, those are going to be really nice if you have that busy schedule and you're like, you know what, I cannot physically, drive to a location and chat with someone. With the virtual career fairs, it's all online. So on your tablet, your laptop, your phone, you just chat via like instant messaging with these different recruiters. That's also going to give you the chance to talk with recruiters across the country that you may not necessarily be able to get to a career fair in Cleveland, Ohio, but you're really interested in working there. So definitely, if you are interested, check out the website to find out if there is a career fair that matches up with what you're looking for. And then how do you actually start to search? So like I said, the internet, it's vast, it has a lot of stuff out there. So how do you actually go about searching for those opportunities? So I would definitely suggest starting on a job board and from there, figuring out what are your preferences. Do you have a specific job type that you're looking for? Are you looking to do hospitalist, academic, part time, full time? Start to figure those things out, and then narrow it down even more. What's your ideal call schedule? Are you looking for someone with loan repayment, visa sponsorship? But start to figure out what those preferences are, and as you start to look more and more, you're going to realize, you know what, I'm really not looking for this in an opportunity. I'm really looking for something that is going to provide me with a chance, to take part of the business strategy development. So you can go into those opportunities and just start to read them to figure out what am I looking for. But then the next step, like I said, is that Practice Match Career Center. So with the Career Center, this is a really nice thing. It's completely free. But on the Career Center, all you have to do is come in. You can select your specialty, and we'll just look at emergency medicine, and we'll do Illinois. From here, once you click go, this is going to show you all 56 physician jobs with that specialty of emergency medicine in Illinois. From here, you can even narrow it down by a job title or a keyword. You can get more specific. So if you're looking to work in Chicago, Illinois, or if you're looking to go Southern Illinois and you're looking for Carbondale, you can put that information in there. Also, over on the left-hand side, you can just see the jobs that were posted today within the last 7 days. So 30 days. So you can narrow that down even further to say, I want to see what the most recent one is. And then if we continue down, you can see the different subspecialty options. You can also look at a specific site. So once again, if you have somewhere that you know, hey, I'm really kind of looking in this area, I want to see what Advocate has, you can click on that, see those opportunities. And then there's also the visa sponsorship and the loan repayment. But from this section, once you click on an opportunity, you can actually come in, you can see all that information. So it makes it really easy for you in that sense. But continuing on, so after we start to look at those opportunities, the next step is going to be to apply. But we can't just go in and apply. There are some things that we need to do before we do that. So we started looking for that job, 18 to 24 months out. We're going to start to prepare to apply 12 to 18 months out. So that just is going to depend once again on when you started looking for that opportunity. But there are a few things that you are going to need before you apply for an opportunity. Number one, being an updated CV. If you do not currently have a CV and you're starting to look for opportunities, don't freak out. You can go ahead and you can create that once you've found an opportunity that you're ready to apply for. You can start now. But if you're just feeling kind of overwhelmed of, well, how do I even create a CV? We do have a free CV builder on the Practice Match website that you can always utilize. Also, reach out to a coworker, colleague, Google examples. We have a few on the website as well. But create that CV. Make sure that in your CV, that it is tailored to that opportunity that you're applying for. And then another thing is if you are going to put a cover letter on your CV, get that created as well. Because once again, that cover letter, just like our CV, is going to be tailored to the opportunity that we're applying for. And then last, start to find your references. This is one thing that I think a lot of people struggle with because a lot of us just assume, oh, I have these three people that I work with daily. I have my program director, the coordinator, my attending physician. I have a few colleagues. I'm just going to ask them to be my reference. And we assume it's dead. But with references, those can be what kind of makes or breaks us in that interview process of, do we really think that this candidate is better than this one? Which one should we go with? So, with your references, not only do you want to figure out, okay, who am I going to ask, but actually start to vet them a little bit. Ask them, number one, would you be willing to be a reference for me if needed? Number two, make sure that if they say yes to that, that they have the time to do it because someone may say, "Oh my gosh, yes, I would love nothing more to do for that," but they're currently working on other, research or something, and they just do not have the time to be a good reference for you. So definitely check on that. And then lastly, make sure that you ask them, "How would you describe me to someone who's never worked with me before?" That's a really good way to figure out what they're going to say about you. Because someone you may think is going to be a good reference, they may not necessarily know you in that personal way to say, you know, Dr. Smith is going to be a great physician for you because comes in early, helps out the interns on their rounds. It always goes above and beyond. They may just say, Dr. Smith's a good doctor. They see all their patients, haven't had any complaints. So you want to make sure that you have someone that's going to help talk you up and set you apart from others. So with your CV, like I mentioned earlier, we're not going to go through the whole CV writing uh, spiel, but just some top writing tips for you. Number one, make sure you have that up to date contact information. This is one thing whenever I get CVs sent over for reviews, sometimes I'll send it to an email address. And then later I'll get a call from a physician or an email from a different email saying, hey, I never received my CV back. So make sure that you put contact information on there that you check regularly, just so that way you can make sure that you don't have it sent to your .edu or to an old email address that you don't necessarily check. And then all of a sudden, a recruiter sent you 6 emails, you didn't respond, so they assumed that you're not interested. So put that good contact information on there. Also, your CV is typically going to run between 2 to 5 pages. If it starts to go over that, that may be because you have, publications, research, all that good stuff on there. And if it does start to run kind of lengthy, that's when you have to tailor it down a little bit by doing select publications, select presentations. Where you are putting the information on there that's either most pertinent to the opportunity that you're applying for, or you can go ahead and put whatever's the most recent and then have the rest in a separate document that you can send over. Also, avoid those huge chunks of text. It just makes your CV look clunky and bulky, and you definitely don't want that. And then add those page numbers. I typically see them on the bottom of the page, last name, page number. That's just a good way to make sure that if for whatever reason your CV, fell off someone's desk, it got just messed up, other papers got thrown in there, that they can easily put it back together. And then lastly, make sure that you review your CV before submitting. I know that sometimes whenever you do something, you just assume, hey, I did this perfectly. I was definitely the same way in undergrad where I would write a paper, assume everything's great, hit that send button, and then all of a sudden see some sort of error. So make sure that you are reviewing your CV before submitting, hitting that spell check button on, Word. Also, have somebody else read over it again. So you may have read over it, but you may get to the point where you're not really reading it. You're just kind of scanning over it. Have a colleague, a friend, a family member, whoever, go in and reread that just to double check for errors. Also, Practice Match does free CV reviews. So if you ever have a CV that you are contemplating of, hey, is this good? Do I need to do anything else with it? You can always send that over to us and we'll review that for you and send it back to you with suggested edits. So then after we're ready with our CV, we have our cover letter for using that. We've figured out who our references are. Now's the time to start applying for those opportunities. So after we've been on the job boards, gone to career fairs, that's whenever we can start actually applying. So this is the part too where I hear some people say, yeah, I just started applying for jobs that met my, geographic area, my specialty. So you want to make sure that, of course, that it meets that, but also it meets your other criteria. So like I mentioned before, maybe it's about the call schedule. Maybe it's loan repayment, vacation time, bonuses, whatever that is, you want to make sure that it meets your criteria. So I definitely suggest that as you start to look at opportunities and start to apply, make a list for yourself of what are my must-haves in an opportunity. If I am absolutely 1000% positive that I need to apply somewhere that has loan repayment, I'm going to put that on my must-haves. And then as you go down the list, put down your I want it. Doesn't matter if you get it or not, but it is something that if you can negotiate it in, that you would definitely want. And then towards the bottom, that's where you can list out the other things that you're like, yeah, this one I could go either way on. Doesn't really bother me. But that's just a good way for you to see a physical representation of what you are looking for in that opportunity. Also, double check the geographic location. Sometimes it can be a little confusing on different job boards where, especially if you're applying somewhere that has multiple locations, of which location it's actually for. So just double check that geographic location before hitting apply. So then a lot of times you're going to be applying straight through that job board. So like on the Practice Match job board, I'm just going to pull that back up. This is that opportunity we had open earlier. You can click apply now at the bottom. There's also an apply now at the top. That's going to let you apply to that opportunity directly through there. Some job boards are going to be a little bit different. It might take you to another screen where you have to fill out, the questionnaire and all that fun stuff. So just be prepared to know that they're not all going to be exactly the same. Also, some organizations, they're going to tell you, hey, just email us at this email address because I'm the recruiter for this opportunity. And then they'll sometimes fill out the application for you because some of the systems that recruiters have to use, they're just really clunky. They're a little slow. Sometimes they freeze up. And so sometimes you will go directly through that recruiter. But then after you've started applying for opportunities, that next step is going to be the interviews. So with interviews, one thing that you should definitely know is that you should be expecting multiple steps. So that's why we suggest for interviewing about 9 to 15 months out from that desired start date. This gives you enough time that if you have multiple phone interviews, Skype interviews, site visit interviews, off-site interviews, whatever it may be, that you have enough time to schedule all that. Schedules don't always match up. Sometimes, the date that's best for you isn't going to work for them and vice versa. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to prepare for multiple interviews. So with interviews, this is one thing that everyone gets nervous about. So make sure that you are preparing prior to that interview. And the best way to do that is to practice answering some of those basic questions. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Why did you choose this specialty? Why did you choose our facility itself? So practice answering those questions. And we'll see a few of them on this next slide as well. And then write down any questions that you have. So if you're going through the job description and you go, this is worded a little weird, I'm not sure what they mean by that, or like I said before, maybe they list out multiple locations and you're just not sure which one it would be, write down those questions. Have those ready. Also, if you talk to someone and let's say that your CV with all your presentations and publications in there was 22 pages and you told that recruiter on the phone, "Yep, I have that document. I will bring that with me or I will send that over to you prior to the interview." Make sure that you have any documents promised. Because number one, if you don't, it's just going to start that interview off on the wrong foot. But number two, it's going to come across that you're either forgetful, you just don't care, and you definitely don't want to put that feeling out there. So make sure that you have any sort of document that you told them that you would have or send over with you at that time. So here's some of those common interview questions, and you will get a recording of the webinar as well. So you don't have to frantically try to type these out or write them down or anything, but these are just some of those common interview questions. These are also not the only questions you'll see. You'll get some that are different from this, but these are just some ones that come up a lot during interviews. So you shouldn't be practicing these so much that you have one answer for each one where it's rehearsed, but just have an idea. The tell us about yourself one is one that throws people off a lot because they're like, what do you want to know? Do you want to know when I was born? Do you want to know where I'm from? Do you want to know, why I went into medicine? So start to figure out what are you going to tell them about yourself? Also, tell us a strength and a weakness. So just start to think about what your answer would be and definitely practice it, but don't rehearse it to where if you mess up, how you're going to answer it, all of a sudden you have no answer because I don't know how I'm supposed to answer it now. And then here's some examples of questions that you can ask as well. So if you don't have any questions off the job description, definitely start to think too about the organization itself. How long have they been around? Do they have multiple locations? Are they across state lines? But just have a few questions prepared because at the end of almost every interview, they will ask you, now, do you have any questions for us? So one of my favorite ones is, why did this position become available? That's going to tell you a lot about that organization as a whole, because if that position became available because the doctor that was there before just retired after 30 years of being there, that must be a pretty great place to work. If it's someone that quit after 2 weeks, okay, did they quit because of, a personal reason? Maybe they had a family emergency. Or did they quit because they hated it here? Those are some things that you can get answered by that question. But then after the interviewing process, this is when it comes time to accepting and declining offers. I definitely suggest doing this a little bit earlier rather than later, but 6 to 9 months out, that's when you want to go ahead and start to do that. One thing that always just stresses everyone out is figuring out which opportunity is the right one for me to take. So whenever you are trying to figure out that, which one is the right one, which one met your needs the most? So if we go back to that list that I talked about earlier of these are my must-have, these are my I want them, these are my doesn't really matter which way this goes. Figure out which one met your needs the most. If they're neck and neck, then go down to the next one of which one felt right or wrong. Whenever you go on these interviews, you're going to get some feelings about them. So not only the nervousness, but also the feelings of, you know what, this seems like an organization that I can see myself in for the next 10 years. Or, you know what, kind of seemed a little sketchy, didn't really get a good feeling from this, just there's something about it, just didn't feel right. So if any felt that, that just didn't feel right way, go with your gut because a lot of times, you're going to find that that's going to lead you in the right direction. So figure out which one felt right and just compare them. Also, on the flip side of that is you're more than likely going to apply and interview for more than one opportunity. So, just like we're going to be accepting opportunities, we're also going to have to decline opportunities. So, as you go to decline an opportunity, you definitely want to make sure that you're keeping it professional, polite, that you're still thanking them for their time because you never know when one organization is going to acquire another, when a recruiter is going to go work for a different healthcare system. So make sure that, thank you so much, hospital. But right now, I just don't see this meeting my professional goals, so I'm going to go a different way. Um, so keep it short and sweet. Don't go into a big, explanation of, well, you guys were really cheap. You wouldn't offer me my bonus that I wanted. You wouldn't match my pay. Don't go into that. Because just like physicians chart patients, recruiters will keep notes on different applicants. And if they say, you know what, Dr. Smith was super rude, was just really nasty to us, they're going to put that in there. And later on, if you apply for an opportunity with them, they're probably going to go, you know what, super rude. I don't think this is going to be a good, face for our organization. So make sure you're keeping it polite. You're not burning a bridge. You're keeping it open. So then after you accept an offer, that's when that negotiation comes into play. So with contract negotiation, this is obviously an art form. Sometimes you are going to need a lawyer. Sometimes, you may be able to negotiate it yourself, but some of the top tips, know the market. Know what your specialty in that area that you're going to be working for. Know what the salary is there. Because that might determine, hey, am I being underpaid for that? And maybe I'm going to negotiate up on that. Or, hey, maybe I'm being overpaid, so I'm not even going to, try to get more money out of that for right now. Also, figure out which items are negotiable and non negotiable. If call schedule is something that's non negotiable, don't continue to bring it up because it's going to become kind of a sore subject, and it's not going to make that negotiation process go any easier. Also, be flexible. So there's going to be items that you really want to negotiate. There's going to be items that they want to negotiate. So if you're looking for, a larger salary, they might say, okay, we'll do the larger salary, but then we're going to cut down on that bonus or vice versa. So you want to make sure that you're being flexible, and that you're not just saying, nope, I'm not changing anything. Also, make sure that you get everything in writing, because unfortunately, there are stories out there of, oh, well, somebody told me whenever we met that they were going to change it to where I got this bonus instead of this one, or I was going to be under this pay structure, but it wasn't in writing. It was just verbal, and there was no evidence of it. They signed the contract with the old lingo on there. And then then they can't say, oh, well, we got to change it now. So make sure that if there are any discussions of changes to the contract, that it gets done in writing and that you sign that right contract. Don't just assume that they've updated it and go and sign it. Not every organization is going to be, um, willing to say, oh, you know what, we made a mistake. Here's the wrong contract. We'll fix that for you. So make sure that you are rereading it, that you are getting everything in writing before you sign it. But any questions at this time? If so, once again, you can put those in that questions chat box. You can also always email me over at hwazinski@practicematch.com, or call or text my cell phone at 314-745-0869.